And you are going to be live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this Tree Stuff Lunch and Learn with Petzl. My name is Rudy. Excited to do this. This is really fun for me, for Petzl, and I think for Tree Stuff, and hopefully you folks too. So big kudos to Tree Stuff. Thanks a lot for Kale for setting all this up. Hopefully this will run pretty smoothly, and let's dive into this. So we're talking tree climbing solutions and technical tips today. Really, I'm going to show you Petzl published technical tips. This information is going to be, I would say, like intermediate level of climber or for arborist. So nothing is brand spanking new that I'm going to cover today. All of this is already published, and we're just going to do it in a presentation format here. So thanks again to Tree Stuff. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and let's get going. So I'm Rudy Rutemiller. I am an arborist, so I've had my ISA certification for 7 years, going on 8 years now. Really enjoy being a part of the arborist community and maintaining that credential. So I was a working arborist, a production arborist, and a sales arborist as well before coming to Petzl. And that was 3.5 years ago or so. So I am Petzl's Eastern Sales Manager. I'm also a runner, a dog dad, got a COVID pup, and like to do all things outside. So I got my email address on here. It's rrutemiller@petzl.com. You're more than welcome to email me with any questions you have. Obviously, I think your first stop is going to be the Tree Stuff folks. All the Tree Stuff customer service people are quite up to date on Petzl stuff and can answer all your questions for you. But if you do ever want to reach out to me directly, email is best there. It's rrutemiller@petzl.com, and I got it on the last slide as well. So, yep, you're more than welcome to email me here. So what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about where you can find all this info. So like I said, all this info is published already. It is Petzl approved techniques and solutions here. So I'm going to show you where you can find this information to reference at your leisure after this. You can obviously rewatch this presentation. It's going to be on YouTube and I think on Facebook too. So you're welcome to tune into Tree Stuff's YouTube page and rewatch this presentation. But I'm going to show you how to find this information on Petzl's website. We're going to talk about some canopy access. We're going to talk about some climbing techniques. Going to talk about a couple rescue scenarios involving Petzl specific product and some things to consider and some things to do if you are faced with a rescue scenario. And like I said, all this stuff is manufacturer approved. That's really important. Obviously, I work for Petzl manufacturer, but following manufacturer instructions and seeing what the manufacturer says to do, what to take caution on, and then what's dangerous about products is all extremely important when it comes to risk management and how you use PPE, climbing devices, all that good stuff. So like I said, all this is going to be manufacturer approved here. I have a warning slide. If anybody's seen a presentation from Petzl before, I'm sure you've seen this slide. But this video, this webinar is an informational session. It's not specifically training. This is to just inform everybody watching what you can do with Petzl products, and is informational to bring some new tools into your tool bag and to elevate your climbing game with some tips and tricks here. Obviously, if you are climbing at height, you need specific training. Don't take this webinar as specific training. It is an information session. All right, so I'm going to start off with how you can find this information. So the Petzl website is really, really good. Petzl, we really pride ourselves on not only the products, which are super quality products and premium products, but also the information that we have with all of our products. So you can find a plethora of information on Petzl.com. Once you go there, Petzl is split into a sport division that's recreational, and then a professional division. We get paid to work at height, so we're in the professional division. So when you get to Petzl.com, click on that professional link there, and then you're going to come to this page. On this black box, we have products under verticality and lighting, and then we have a whole section of tech tips. So when you hover over that tech tips black bar there, you can sort technical tips or tech tips by activity, by a specific product. So for this scenario, we can go under by activity. So if you just hover over technical tips, click on by activity, pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory there. You can pick your industry. Obviously, we're going to be talking about tree care, so we're going to click on that one. But it is an interesting note that Petzl has a whole bunch of different markets, right? We're in rope access, confined space, roofing, general construction, a lot of different markets here. So you can find other technical tips in these other markets or domains or activities, and you can pull some really interesting things from these other markets. So I have, I think, one slide on a rope access technical tip that can be used for arboriculture. But the cool thing about all these different markets is that you can cross-pollinate into tree care. And I think that's a really cool thing about tree care is that arborists blend rope access techniques and traditional rescue techniques in their own techniques. So all that said, we're going to click on tree care right there. And then you're going to come to all of these technical tips. And you can click on each one. And this is where they live on the website here. So under tree care, we have a lot of technical tips. I'm not covering each and every single one of them in this presentation. Because there are so many. I'm just kind of picking and choosing some cool ones that I think are beneficial here. All right, so to start, we're going to talk about canopy access. So this is nothing new under the sun. Obviously, if you're going to set up your climbing line, you're going to throw your throw line. You're going to isolate your crotch. You don't have to, obviously, if you're going to create a basal anchor. But this middle picture is showing, make sure you're looking at that crotch, make sure it's not compromised, not defective, not decayed, you're not over a dead limb, all of those good things that we all know about. So make sure you're tied over a good crotch. And then if you're going to set up a basal anchor, I'm going to talk about doing a releasable basal anchor. So like I said, this technique has been around for a pretty long time. But the idea behind it is that you're rigging for rescue. So if you're climbing in a stationary rope system and something were to happen, it's really easy for the ground person to bring that climber down to the ground by using a releasable basal anchor, rigging for rescue. So what device can you use here at your basal anchor? You can use a Petzl rig or you can use an ID. I'm not going to go into the difference between those two. There are some diameter differences. There's an anti-panic function. But you can use any descent control device really here. You could use a figure 8 if you wanted to as well. We really like using either a rig or an ID because it's easy to manipulate and lower the climber with the handle there. So for proper setup here, you're going to put a sling or some kind of contraption around the base of the tree, and then you're going to install your descent control device, put the rope through it, tie a knot off of it, and then you can climb. If you do have to lower the climber, all you have to do is unknot the knot, keep your brake hand below the device there, and manipulate the descent control device to lower the climber to the ground. I'm going to show a video about this technique, so it'll be visual in another format in just a second here. But one thing to note that on this right-hand side is to make sure you have a lot of rope below the descent control device. You want to have at least as much rope in the rope bag as the height of the tree. That'll give you plenty of rope so the climber is not stuck halfway down the tree if you're trying to rescue them. Super important to make sure you got enough rope there. And then in the picture as well, we got a little ball here at the end. Make sure you got your stopper knot as well too, right? Cool. So I'm going to show this video of how to install this, and we will let it run here. All right, so we have determined we're going to climb in a stationary rope system with a basal anchor, and we want to rig for rescue. So what we're going to do is install some sort of contraption at the base of the tree. I just have a couple of slings for simplicity and my descent control device. So with the descent control device, I'm going to put it onto whatever system I have at the base of the tree here. I'm going to install the end of the climbing line in the device. And I'm almost good to start climbing, but not quite yet. I need to tie it off in case something were to happen. So I can use just any knot here, put it on top of the device, and loop this back with a carabiner onto the first carabiner. And now I'm good to climb. If I need to lower the climber for any reason, all I have to do is undo this knot, and I can lower the climber to the ground by maintaining my hand below on the brake side and operating the descent control device. All right, so we have. Cool. So hopefully that was a good refresher for some folks. Hopefully most people know that technique, but it's a good reason if you are climbing on a base anchor, right? Pros and cons of base anchors and canopy anchors if you're climbing in a stationary rope system. But if you are accessing or working in a base anchor, that's a pretty good idea to be able to rig for rescue there. And one thing that I should clarify is putting the knot above the device. You're doing that because the rig or the ID is unattended, right? The grounds person is not going to hold there with the break end of the rope while the climber does the work the whole time. They're going to, gather brush, chip, do whatever they need to do. So that's why you need to put a knot above the device, is because the device is unattended there. Cool. So going into some access techniques, obviously you could hip thrust. You could use a single leg foot ascender, like a Pantene, that you're going to use your big leg muscles there. That's pretty good. You could obviously rope walk like this person on the right hand is doing with the knee ascender and a foot ascender. That's going to be quite efficient there using your lower leg muscles. You could also use a machine ascender, like a Raptor or a Ronin ascender, or you could also use a chest and a hand ascender here. So I want to clarify a couple things on rope walking and then using a chest and a hand ascender as well. So if you are ascending in a rope walking system and you have a SEQUOIA SRT, you can use the belay loop between the waist belt and the leg loops, this highlighted loop. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but this highlighted loop here, the belay loop. Cool. Thanks, Kale. You guys can't see my cursor. So this belay loop, you can clip into there. So it's really beneficial if you are climbing, if you have a long ascent, clip your system into there opposed to the bridge, because you're not going to have any sit back on the device if you do take a break. If you take a break when you're ascending and you're clipped into your bridge, you have that, maybe 6 inches, maybe a foot, depending on how long your bridge is. You have all that sit back and you lose a little bit of your progress, right? Not a huge deal, but if you clip into this belay loop, you don't have that sit back. The device is going to be a little bit closer to you. And that's just a really nice feature that's pretty specific to the SEQUOIA SRT there. So wanted to clarify that. Some folks kind of always ask that question. They say, oh, I can clip into there. And the answer is yes, you can clip into there. And these EN ratings are European standards for work positioning and seat harnesses. It's just saying that it is rated to those European standards. There is no North American specific ANSI Arborist standard for a belay loop there. So Petzl's using these European standards there. And then chest ascending. So this is a snippet of a tech tip for rope access. So rope access technicians work on 2 separate lines. They have their main system, which is going to be on the left of these photos, and then their backup system behind them on the right. But what this picture is showing is this technique of using a chest ascender and a handled ascender, as well as a Pantene here. So this is just an alternate method, right? I think most people are going to rope walk or use a Pantene alone, and that's 100% A-okay. That's a great technique to do. I just wanted to give a different perspective or a different industry of how they ascend long ropes, and they use this this chest ascender here in the middle with a handled ascender and a Pantene here. So like the SEQUOIA SRT can take that top croll. That croll is what's connected in the middle here. It's really nice because it captures your progress, especially with this Pantene here. There's going to be no sit back in this system. You're using your leg muscles. The rope is close to you with that chest ascender. And then the handle ascender gives you a nice ergonomic way to kind of hold yourself and pull yourself up a little bit in there too. So you could, if say you're ascending, a 200-foot redwood in Northern California, you could ascend this method and then use your lanyard and then install your regular climbing system to work the tree. Just an alternate method that I wanted to show here. Using a chest ascender can be super beneficial if you have a long ascent. All right, so just some climbing techniques here. So again, these are pulled from our technical tips. And instead of showing all the words, I'm just going to kind of say what these technical tips are saying here. So if you have a zigzag, the proper way to handle it is to go below the device and then pull out. This is if you're going to be ascending or returning to the trunk, obviously. So grab below the device, the rope below it, and then pull up or back towards the trunk of the tree, opposed to pulling down because you're creating this belly of slack here, right? So this is just best practice, right? You obviously can pull down and create this belly of slack. You know, if you're hip thrusting, this is going to be the traditional method of how to climb here. This exclamation point is Petzl's caution symbol. So Petzl's really just saying, if you are using this method, if you are pulling, if you are hip thrusting in a moving rope system like this is showing, just make sure that that slack is not excessive. I think everybody knows this. I think everybody gets yelled at when they first start climbing and they say, you know, 10 your slack, 10 your slack. So a way to combat this is to go below the device, and that way you have no slack there. You're decreasing your fall factor if something were to happen there. So again, minimizing your fall factor here. This is just showing a stationary rope system with a zigzag and a chicane here. So you again want to take below the device and go back towards the trunk. What you do not want to do, what you want to be cautious of, is moving the chicane up without tending the slack below hand, because that's going to create this belly of slack above the device, and that's going to increase your fall factor. You're going to fall more before your device catches you there. You always want to limit your fall factor there, limit the amount of slack in the system here. So an alternate return method, this is one that I included semi-last minute here, but this is using the adjustable bridge. So I think people who know about the adjustable bridge and use the adjustable bridge love the adjustable bridge for this specific reason. So if you're looking on this right-hand photo here, what you can do with the adjustable bridge is extend it so your climbing device, no matter what your climbing device is, you can extend it far away from you. And if you're in a moving rope system, all you have to do is just pull down on below the device there. And you're using that inherent mechanical advantage of a moving rope system to bring you back into the trunk of the tree there. So by extending your bridge, you can just pull below the device. You can do this instead of hip thrusting if you don't have a lot of friction in the system. Or you could do it if you just did a limb walk and you want to leave your device farther from you, make it a little bit easier on you to use an adjustable bridge there. So that's just cool little tips and trick. There is a specific technical notice or technical tip showing the adjustable bridge there. Kayla, are we good? Do we have any questions yet? Cool. We'll keep it moving here. I know a lot of the stuff is pretty basic. It's going to get a little bit more complex the farther we go here, I promise. So just quick reminder on proper descent control of using the zigzag. You want to just feather that top link with your thumb or your forefinger and kind of wrap your hand around those links and use that top link to control the descent. You want to be really cautious of just fisting that device and coming down hard and compressing all of those links. You really just want to start with that top link. So proper method on the left here. Improper method is fisting that the rope above it and coming down completely on all of those chains. That's one thing you want to watch out for there. Okay, so switching it up a little bit, I did want to talk about friction management. So this is where it gets a bit theoretical, but I have some examples here to explain what I'm trying to get out here. So if you are climbing in a moving rope system, friction is always going to work for you or against you, right? So this is inherent. Any climber knows a lot about friction, but putting numbers to it can be an interesting exercise, and that's kind of what I wanted to accomplish here. So if you are climbing, you're pulling yourself, you don't want to have a lot of friction to pull yourself up, right? You want the friction to work for you if you're ascending. Where friction can work against you is if you're like holding on to a rope or a limb that you're rigging, right? Anybody who's attended a porter wrap, it knows a lot about friction, if it's working for you or against you. So I wanted to compare some different gear and just put some numbers to friction's sake. So if you're looking at a protraction, this is a progress capture device with a pulley in it. Say I weigh 100 kilograms or I have a 100 kilogram load, just for a nice easy number, and I'm redirecting that load and I'm going to pull, I want that load to go up to ascend. So I'm pulling down on this right side of the picture. How much force do I have to pull to ascend or raise this 100 kilogram load here? So if I'm using an 11 millimeter rope, just for consistency behind these three different devices here, for a protraction, if I'm raising a 100 kilogram load, I'm using 113 kilograms of force to pull that up. So that's not that bad, right? The protraction is pretty efficient. I'm pulling 113 kilograms up to raise that 100 kilogram load. If I'm moving over to a roll clip, which is that nice carabiner and pulley device in there, that's going to be a little less efficient than this protraction. The protraction has a pretty sizable pulley in it. The roll clip, that's a pretty small pulley in there. So same scenario, 11 millimeter rope. I'm trying to raise a 100 kilogram load. How much force am I putting on that? I'm putting 130 kilograms of force to raise that load. So 17 more kilograms of force to pull that. That's not a huge difference, but you are going to notice it. If I'm using just a carabiner with no pulley in there, same scenario, I'm using 193 kilograms of force. So almost twice the amount of force to raise this load here. So kind of what am I getting at here is I'm going to get into friction savers here, right? So the more efficient your device is, the less you're going to pull. So if I want to be efficient in a moving rope system to ascend, obviously you want to add a friction saver in here. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. This can go with like a rigging redirect as well, right? You know, it's, do I want more friction on this piece? Do I want less friction on this piece? How heavy is this load? You're kind of asking yourself all of these questions, and picking the right device for you is going to determine, you know, if you want that more friction or less friction there. So if I want to increase my climbing efficiency in a moving rope system, you're going to add a friction saver, right? So you have super basic friction savers, which are nice and inexpensive, just like a pipe or an old piece of garden hose or whatever, right? Those original friction savers. And then you have some more advanced friction savers like the Petzl Eject here. So I guess this is my one new product for Petzl here, is the Eject. So this is a friction saver that doesn't get stuck. So I'm not going to get too deep into the Eject. It is on Tree Stuff's website, so if you want to check it out, Tree Stuff does have some information on the Petzl Eject there. But no hardware is going through the crotch, so it doesn't really get stuck. And you have this really efficient pulley on this right-hand picture here where the rope is going through. So this is a 95% efficient pulley. And that's kind of a new on that more class of innovative friction savers, using a pulley in it to make it really easy when you're pulling yourself up on a friction saver there. So hopefully that all made sense of my friction and comparison. You know, if you're just going over a natural crotch redirect on a pine versus a eucalyptus, you have a lot more different friction there. And if you climb with a friction saver, one that's pretty easy to install, you're going to have even friction through all of your climbs, no matter what kind of tree you're climbing, no matter what the species is there. Another really cool thing about the Eject, and then I'll move on from the new products here, but the Eject, Petzl does approve it for a stationary rope system. And to my knowledge, it's the only friction saver out there that has manufacturer approval to use in a stationary rope system. So by making a looped knot on one side of the device, like this bottom picture is showing, you can work in a stationary rope system. And if you do a whole bunch of redirects, it's going to decrease that friction by using that pulley. And it's going to make it pretty easy to retrieve your system once you're done climbing, once you're done working the tree there. So that's my spiel on efficiency and friction there with the Eject. All right, so I got a question for everybody. So this is switching gears a little bit, and my question is, how can you increase stability when returning from a limb walk in a stationary rope system? So use the chat function in the platform, and I'll give everybody maybe 30, 45 seconds or so to type this out. And There's a few different answers here. I'm looking for one specifically. How can you increase stability when returning from a limb walk in a stationary rope system?
Well, I've got a question here from the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
I've got Ironwood Workman asking if there's anything new coming out that you're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, good question. So I just talked a little bit about the eject. The main thing that I'm covering here today are technical tips here. So I don't have a lot of new product on here. We got some new bucket truck harnesses out. We have new duffels. The eject is our big arborist one for the year here. We have some spin pulleys as well, but I'm not specifically talking about those in this presentation. I am talking some technical tips here.
Okay. Jason Judette wants to know, why did Petzl stop making the longer attachment line for bucket connection?
The longer attachment line for bucket connection. Not 100% sure the question there. Are you talking about a lanyard?
I think.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd know.
Yeah. So Petzl, we have a couple different Absorbica.
The Absorbica. Yep, that's what he's talking about.
Cool. Yeah, so we have 3 different versions of the Absorbica. We have an 80 centimeter version, which is pretty short for a bucket truck. We got a 150 centimeter version, which is the one that we typically sell for bucket truck work in really any market, construction or arboriculture. So 150 centimeters is going to be the one you're looking for there. That should give you plenty of room there. Tree Stuff does have that one. And then we do have the Absorbica Vario, which is an adjustable length. It adjusts from, I think, 100 centimeters to 150 centimeters. So if you're sharing a bucket truck kit, the Absorbica I Vario is a pretty good one to adjust it for users' heights.
All right. I've got an answer on Steve Cook on YouTube said, in response to your question, carabiner back at the trunk, run your rope through the carabiner and use it to pull yourself back with mechanical advantage.
Yeah, awesome. Nice job, Steve. That was totally the answer that I was looking for there, and that's a perfect segue. So thanks, Steve, for chatting in. You're completely right. So the answer we were looking for is creating a mechanical advantage system to pull less weight when you're going back to the trunk. So you can set up a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage system. You can be super creative and set up more than a 3-to-1, but a 3-to-1 for a limb walk is typically going to be good enough here. So you can set up your mechanical advantage system, go do your limb walk, and then when you're ready to come back to the trunk, you're pulling back on this line, and then you're theoretically only pulling 1/3 of your weight back into the tree. So I have a couple mechanical advantage systems and how to set them up here that I'm going to go into next. But this is a really nice technique to make yourself feel a little bit more stable when you're on that limb walk. And then pulling less weight when you're coming back in. So a 3-to-1 setup, I'm going to go through 2 options here, a fixed option on the left and then a retrievable option on the right. So this fixed option is using some kind of rope grab. So this is like Petzl shows it with the Petzl Basic. You could use a Petzl Kroll. You could use a rescue sender. You could use just a beeline, right? You could totally use a beeline here, some kind of just rope grab. Put that on first, and then you're using a carabiner, or a roll clip is really nice because it's going to be more efficient than just a carabiner. You could use a carabiner and a pulley. You could use really whatever here, but you're going to take your climbing line, you're going to run it up through that roll clip, and then you're going to maintain the break end side of the rope with you so you don't lose that. You want to keep that with you, either hold it or put it onto a carabiner on your harness there. So then when you're ready to pull yourself back in, you're going to pull yourself on that side of the rope there. So that's the fixed option. That's great. If, say, I'm going to go just reduce this limb, I'm going to go back out there and then I'm going to come straight back. If I'm not going to come back and come back to this fixed option, you can use a retrievable option on this right here. So this would be if I am going to go on that limb walk, and then I'm going to like deviate down through it. I want to retrieve my system there. So I want to be more stable on that limb walk, but I'm not going to go back to where I was. I'm going to continue and go down where I was. So I can use a ring here opposed to a basic or a Kroll or a rescue sender. I can use a ring here. Same with the roll clip. same setup, and then I can retrieve this when I'm done, and I'm going to show that in a video here. This is a pretty cool technique. All right, so I've determined I'm going to do a limb walk, and at the end of the limb walk, I want to retrieve my mechanical advantage system to me at the end of the limb walk. So first step is I need to give myself a belly of slack, and I'm going to install the ring on a bite. On that bite, I'm going to put my roll clip or carabiner and pulley, whatever I have available. And the bottom side of the rope, I'm going to put in that roll clip. I'm going to maintain this with me the whole time, so I can clip it to my harness. I'm just going to hold it for now. And then I'm going to walk on the limb. So my system's away from me. When I'm done with the limb walk, I just take these 2 strands of the rope and pull the system back to me with the ring. All right, so hopefully that was a good visual for everybody. When I unweight myself from the system is when I can pull on those 2 strands and the whole system comes back to me. So if you are weighted, that's obvious. The ring is obviously going to lock there. When I unweight the system, I can retrieve that back to me. That's a pretty cool, I think that's a pretty cool trick. You might notice that the roll clip I'm using is a non-locking roll clip, because that's not like, I would say it's not really PPE in that scenario. So I don't need a triple action carabiner on there. I use a non-locking carabiner because it's going to be easy to get that rope in and off. So you could use a triple action or triple action roll clip, but for this specific scenario, it's nice to not have anything locking in there. It just makes it easy to come on and off. Cool. All right. So I got a couple more questions here, and I will pose this one to the gallery. So why is there a danger symbol in this configuration? So this person is trying to set up a 3-to-1. And something is incorrect here. We got a skull and crossbones. That's danger for Petzl on all of our tech notices. So why is there a danger symbol here? I'll give you guys maybe 30 seconds or so. And Kale, if anybody types one out, feel free to shout it out. That's all right. Well, I'll tell you guys the answer. So this is going to be equipment interference here. So obviously the chicane can come into contact with the links of the zigzag here. They can rub on that, and this chicane in this configuration can press that link, and then you could start to descend. So this is total equipment interference here. And to eliminate this scenario, I would just take the chicane out of the zigzag, clip it on my harness. That's a really nice benefit of the chicane is it's easy on and off. You can switch from a moving rope system to a single rope system pretty quickly. And in this situation, if I were to configure this 3-to-1 like this, I would just take the chicane out of there, clip it on my harness, do my limb walk, and then when I have to go back into my stationary system, just put the chicane back on. And then, so why the danger symbol on this one? Maybe I'll just give you guys a little bit to think about it, and I'll move on here. So this is another danger symbol, skull and crossbones. Why is this a dangerous situation here? Yeah, go for it, Kale.
It's showing that there is rope on rope friction there. Is that it?
So that'd be part of the answer for sure. It is close together. There is going to be rope and rope friction there in this picture, and that's going to do damage to your rope. So you're totally right in that regard. The answer I'm looking for, though, is that the entire system is on top of this friction pin here. So if you're following the rope through the anchor, it's coming down, it's coming through this top pin, going through the roll clip, and then down through the links. But this pin here is not a certified attachment point. Petzl hasn't tested this. It's not meant for all or most of your weight on this top friction pin there. So if you do load this top pin completely, you could break the plastic stopper that's in the back of the chicane there. And then that would not be, because Petzl does say that this is dangerous situation and says to not do this, this would not be a warranty claim here. It'd be incorrect usage. So you do not want to put all of your weight on this top pin here. But like Kale said, there's also rope on rope friction, which is a no-no is there as well. Thanks, Kale. So another one here, if we're in a moving rope system, why is there a caution symbol here? This one, when I first saw it, took me a second to figure out. It's going to have to do with this top portion here. So in a moving rope system, I'm trying to create a 3-to-1 here. Why are we being cautious about this? Hopefully some folks were thinking that this rope clamp here basically modifies the main protection system. So the rope grab is becoming your primary anchor right here. Your weight is going to be all on this this scroll or this basic right here, this rope clamp. It's not going to be on your links on the zigzag here. So if this rope grab were to fail, if you were to make a big swing, generate a lot of force on it, if the rope grab were to fail for whatever reason, that could be potentially very dangerous here. You know, rope grabs can tear sheaths of rope depending on the force that's applied there. So Petzl says that this is cautious here. Petzl says you can do this, just be aware, limit your forces here. I would recommend just not doing this option, of course. But that exclamation point is going to be a caution symbol there. So just be cautious if you do create a 3-to-1 with your rope grab on here. And excuse me, the retrievable option is not recommended in a moving rope system. That ring might not lock more than 5 kilonewtons of force there, which is a lot of force, but it's just not recommended for the retrievable option there. All right, so switching gears a little bit here, I want to talk about a 2-rope system. So other industries, kind of like I alluded to earlier, like rope access folks, they use 2 independent ropes for a backup system. So this picture on the right, this is a rope access technician doing some power washing. On the right-hand side, he's got his rigger, his ID. That's going to be his main line. And then you can barely see it, but there's an ASAP, a mobile fall arrestor on his backup line in case something were to happen to his mainline system here. So he's using that ASAP for redundancy if something were to happen. Obviously, some other countries are starting to implement using a 2-rope system in trees for a backup. Petzl's not necessarily advocating to use a 2-rope system, but there are uses in trees when you are using a 2-rope system, right? If I'm in a really widespread canopy, if I'm working out west in California or in South Carolina with a live oak and the canopy is really wide, I might want to use 2 different devices to kind of stabilize myself and work between 2 different systems there to open up options if I'm in a really wide spreading canopy there. So Petzl has 3 different options when using 2 different climbing systems. And I'm kind of going to go good, better, best, right? These aren't the be-all, end-all. These are just 3 different options that Petzl has here. So if you have 2 different ropes and 2 different systems, if I clip them onto the same bridge, this is good, right? It's going to work. I'm going to have some mobility. I'm going to be a little bit more stable working between 2 different lines here. But at the same time, I'm going to have pretty poor mobility. I'm not going to be able to use the whole bridge because there can be some system interference in there. And then I can pretty easily cross these systems if I'm, spinning or moving in the canopy. I can cross these systems pretty easily here. So this configuration works, 2 systems on the same bridge, but it's going to be that kind of lowest tier of what Petzl's saying here. So better is to use 2 different systems on 2 different bridges. So I know a lot of folks are starting to use 2 different bridges for some redundancy, for this option to use 2 different systems on 2 different bridges. They're independent. You're going to be able to use the whole bridge. You have some better mobility in this configuration, but you can still cross your systems. So this is going to be that better scenario. But if we go to best, the best that Petzl says is connecting your second system to your first. And this is a really cool feature of the newest generation of zigzags here, is this second hole, right? So the second hole you can use as a tending point if you're using a knee ascender, if you're rope walking, but you can also attach a second system into it like this picture is showing here. So this is going to give you the best freedom of movement. You're going to have less likelihood of crossing systems. Obviously, it's still going to be possible. But this is what Petzl says is going to be the best scenario if you are climbing on 2 different systems here. Really cool use of that second hole on the zigzag there. You know, even better, you could double up the bridge in this scenario for some redundancy, right? It's kind of a fun thought game to say, okay, how redundant do I need to be? Do I need 2 bridges? You know, it's probably a good idea. Do I need 2 harnesses, 2 carabiners? You know, the redundancy argument can get kind of fun if you go down there. Maybe it's a good thing to talk about in your next safety meeting, is to go down that redundancy rabbit hole of where is redundancy needed, where is it not needed. But for using 2 ropes, this is where Petzl says is the best. And I know you could argue either way, really, on these pictures here, but this is a good use for that second hole there. And then an alternative second system, right? If you don't have like 2 zigzags, right? You could use a multi-use device like the rig or like the ID here. Rigs and IDs have really good plethora of uses. One is obviously going to be that basal anchor that we showed at the beginning of the presentation. But you can also descend with it. You can also ascend with it. You can rescue with it. You can haul things with it. A lot of cool things you can do with a rig or an ID. So I'm not going to get super specific into those, but some pretty high caliber arborists like to use a rig or an ID on their harness just to give them some options for different scenarios they can encounter there as well. Moving on to rescue, and the rig and ID are really used in kind of that fire rescue world, used as a progress capture and in a hauling, in a lowering device here. So I'm going to go into a couple of rescue scenarios, and this photo is showing an accompanied descent when using 2 different systems here. So your victim on the right side here, his climbing system's still intact, but for whatever reason, he needs to be accompanied to descend all the way down to the ground. A couple things I really want to point out here. One is that the rescuer on the left side, he is maintaining his brake hand on both systems there. So he's doing that so he can maintain control of both systems. I know I've seen quite a handful of folks, the rescuer uses both hands, one on his system, one on the victim's system, and then he's manipulating both zigzags with each hand. That you're not going to have great control when you do that. So Petzl's solution here is to maintain your brake hand below both devices and use your lanyard on top of the victim's zigzag here and creating a knot in there. So I have a video showing a proper usage and an improper usage here. So this slide, left side is just a blown up version showing that knot above the zigzag. That's going to be proper usage. If you are rescuing somebody and you're both on zigzags, use your lanyard, put a knot above the zigzag, and that's going to give you a nice control of your descent. Petzl says what is dangerous is putting a pulley above the links of the zigzag there. A pulley is going to collapse those zigzags. It's going to be really jerky, and it's not going to be a controlled descent. You obviously want to avoid an uncontrolled descent if somebody is injured, having a tough time and needs to be rescued there. So I'm going to show 2 videos. This first video is going to show what not to do. I'm going to reiterate that about 1 million times here. The pulley you do not want to put above the zigzag, but I want to show it from a low height just to demonstrate that uncontrolled descent. This is a demonstration of what not to do when you are rescuing somebody on 2 different systems with mechanical prusiks. You don't want to put something above the mechanical prusik that could lead to an uncontrolled descent. So in this example, in the tech tip that I just showed you guys, I'm going to put a pulley above these links right here. And as I start to tighten this up and I start to descend with both hands on the brake strand of each system, you're going to notice that this pulley above the links is not going to be a very smooth descent. Here we go. So that was an uncontrolled descent. This is going to. All right, so hopefully you saw the pulley on there, how the climber was coming down. That was an uncontrolled descent. So here is the correct way to do it. In the tech tip that shows the proper way, all you do is put a knot with your lanyard above the mechanical prusik. So I'm just gonna put a very simple knot in here. And as I take both ends of the rope in one hand, I'm going to start to descend, and this should be smoother than the previous version. Ta-da! And the tech tip that shows the proper way. So that second one was nice and controlled with a knot above it, nice and smooth. So hopefully that's a good tech tip for rescuing. And I have, I think, one last question here, and this is a general rescue principle. And what additional step is necessary when descending two people on one device? So those previous videos were each person had their own device, but if the person's device is compromised, they cut the rope or something, and I need to pick them off and put them on one device, what do I need to do when rescuing somebody? Two-person load on one device, what do you need to do? Kale, do you know the answer? Cool. So I thought I had highlighted it, but the answer is in this photo here. So you have to add friction. You have to add friction to a device when you're putting two-person onto, say, a zigzag here or a rig here. So this photo is showing a redirect through a carabiner to add additional friction there. If you're adding a whole lot more weight onto your climbing device, that device is not going to operate the same as it has a one-person load on it, kind of depending on the device. But I need to add friction on there. So how can you add friction? You can do it a couple different ways. You can put a ring onto a carabiner onto the side of your saddle. That's a nice another reason to keep a ring on your harness is to add friction with a ring. Or you could just put a bite through a carabiner on your side D-ring as well there. You could also do a Munter hitch through a carabiner. Kind of a lot of different ways to add friction there. But these are two ways that are in the Petzl technical tips to do it. Add a ring there or just put a bite through a carabiner. Cool. All right, well, I'm almost wrapped up here. I want to point out a couple additional resources. Obviously, treestuff.com has a whole bunch of different resources. Go to Treestuff's YouTube page, see all of their different resources on there. For Petzl specific stuff, you can go to Petzl's Petzl Professional YouTube page. We just launched a whole lot of how-to videos in the last month or so. So you can go to Petzl Professional. We have one on like installing the knee ascent, installing the eject. We have a whole lot of how-to videos on the web page there. And then on the individual product pages on Petzl.com, we have PP inspection forms. And then we have technical notices. So a whole lot more information as well of these technical tips. So check those ones out. And I think that's all I have for you. So more than happy to answer any questions. Thanks again for attending. Really enjoyed this. Thanks again, Tree Stuff. Appreciate you guys. Kale, do we have any questions out there?
I do not have any questions, Rudy. I think you did a great job on this. And thank you for pioneering the Lunch and Learn series.
Awesome. Well, we'll hang around in case anybody does have any questions. We can hang around in the chat if anybody has one. About these tech tips or really anything Petzl, I'll do my best to answer all of them.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for doing this once again. and I'm sure we'll see you later.
Thanks, Cal. Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, guys.